Nonetheless, we stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal, so we keep it on the table. But we are also prepared to respond through countermeasures and defend our interests. And in addition, we will also protect ourselves against indirect effects through trade diversion. And for this purpose, we will set up an import surveillance task force. We will work with industry to make sure we have the necessary evidence base for our policy measures, and we will stay in very close contact to minimize effects of our actions on each other. Today and tomorrow, I continue my intense outreach to the industrial stakeholders in the European Union. I met with the steel and aluminium industry this morning, as well as Business Europe and SME United. I'm meeting the automotive industry still today and the pharmaceutical industry tomorrow morning. We're discussing the response to the United States, but also the other two pillars of our strategy. The one is strengthening our single market, so getting rid of remaining barriers. And the other pillar is diversifying our trade relations. Specifically, further diversifying our trade relations is very critical for us, because this broadens the market opportunities and is crucial for our companies. So we will focus like a laser beam on the 83% of global trade that is beyond the United States. Vast opportunities. And this is why we're deepening our relations with our trading partners. You know the deals that we've done with Mexico, Mercosur, and Switzerland. We're working on India, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and many others. By that, we want to be very clear Europe stands together for our businesses and with our businesses, for all Europeans in the European Union and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Ursula. It's been good to catch up. We have been meeting and talking, I think, almost every week in the last months. There has been Ukraine, where we are so aligned, working together. There has also been developments since November, leading up to what we have seen in recent weeks coming out of tariffs decided by the US, announced by the US, where we need to understand and decode exactly where they are heading. And I take comfort from the fact that we belong to the same European internal market. Last year we celebrated 30 years of the EEA agreement. For Norway, Europe is by far our most important trading partner. 70% of our export goes to this internal market. And we will do everything to contribute to the integrity of the internal market and follow you carefully as you respond to this unpredictable environment created by the tariffs. And we will stay, as we have agreed, very much in touch so that we can avoid disturbances and turbulence amongst ourselves, because Norway is an important provider of goods and services and energy to Europe, and we would like to maintain in that way. That is a mutual benefit. So thank you for confirming this and agreeing to have the structures in place to really monitor the effects of this unpredictable situation created by the US tariffs. Then I'd also like to say that on Ukraine, we have been able to announce today that Norway will contribute about 4 billion Norwegian crowns to this ambition of securing enough artillery ammunition for Ukraine's self-defense, and thereby contributing an important part of the European Union's ambition, I think about 10% of what the EU has set as a target. And also participating fully in the new programs on military industry cooperation that is emerging. Norway has leading companies for historic reasons and for some fine technological reasons, and these companies will be part of the effort to strengthen Europe's self-reliance on defense in the coming months and years, and also as we head to the next NATO summit in The Hague. We took also stock of other progress that we are making in our cooperation on secure connectivity, on health cooperation, and in other areas where the European Union and Norway have a good and established dialogue. And I really appreciate, Madam President, that you take care and are attentive and so knowledgeable about this relationship. That is a good sign for us, and we really share your ambition of having a united European approach to this quite unstable world as we face it today.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. We can take a couple of questions. Anders, please.
President, you told us about an import task force. What Norway fears it's a protective tariff where Norway falls outside and must pay tariffs to the EU in a given situation. What's your view on this? Do Norway has to pay these kind of tariffs to the EU?
So to be very clear, Norway is inside our single market, and Norway will stay and remain inside our single market. This is crystal clear. And what we're doing is establishing a task force for import surveillance. So we look at what are the historical imports that we have and had, and is there any specific surge all of a sudden of a certain product or in a certain sector that we have to act on. And then, of course, we are in close cooperation with Norway. We exchange knowledge and data and evidence. So, as I said, Norway will always stay in the single market. This is for us very important, and we'll find solutions together.
Thank you. Yes, Francesca, please.
Madam President, I want to ask you about tariffs. It seems increasingly clear that any effective deal-making has to go through President Trump himself. So how does the EU intend on finding a solution to the tariffs issue without talking to President Trump himself?
So it's very clear that we are open for negotiations, and that in parallel we are preparing a potential list for retaliation and other measures for retaliation if this is necessary. We prefer to have a negotiated solution. The relevant partners, Maroš Šefčovič, our Trade Commissioner, and Secretary of Commerce Latnik, for example, are in very close contacts on that topic. And it is clear that negotiations have to go deep into technical details. So this has to be solved first, and then comes the next step.
Good. Raquel? Yes, Viviana, sorry.
Madam President, thank you for this. And thank you for reassuring that Norway will be part and stay a part of the inner market. But at the same time, Norway has for a long time lagged behind in implementing important EU rules and regulations, for instance, energy regulations. And we've heard signals that this will affect the EU decision whether to keep Norway inside or outside of any protective measures that you might take. What's your view on this?
So we both have the same view on this, that we do everything that is necessary, of course, to have the single market functioning. And for that, we need a level playing field. And for that, we encourage Norway, like others, that we have to encourage too, to implement what we have decided together in the European Union. But again, my strong commitment, Norway is in the single market and will stay in the single market. So working on the single market, I know, like, for example, with my member states, it's the same. Now and then I have to remind to really implement what we've decided on together at the European level. But this does not change anything of the principle that they are members of the single market, and Norway is in the single market.
I just have to reconfirm that, we are doing everything we can to keep that lag reduced, small, so that we are up to speed with the internal market with integrity. In some areas we need some time for adaptation, and that is not normal. But, it's in every Norwegian interest that we have this level playing field, and we will make our contribution.
And we take a final question.
Hello, Umberto Bacchi from Agence France Presse. Madam President, just quickly, is the Commission ready to use the anti-coercion instrument in response to US tariffs? And also you mentioned now that you have offered zero tariffs on industrial goods. When was that offer made, and do you have any feedback on how it was received? Thank you.
The offer was made long before and repeatedly, for example, in automotive sector. But there was not an adequate reaction to that one. So since long, while we had the 0 for 0 with other countries that also have a strong automotive sector. And then, as I said, all the instruments are on the table. So there's a variety of instruments. You mentioned one that is a vehicle, but all the different instruments are on the table, and we have to see how the negotiations go to decide which instrument we are using finally.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you.
to the President and Prime Minister. Good afternoon.